Hello, everybody. This is EB. We are back with another podcast, and today I have a special guest with me.
Hi, my name's Mitchell. I don't know if I was supposed to step in and introduce myself.
Yeah, I probably should have made that more clear on my part.
We're good.
Yeah. So we are nearing the end of 2023 at the time of recording this. So I decided at some point in the year to keep track of everything that I watch. And I compiled a list, and I decided why not for the end of the year basically just do basically a recap of all the shows and movies and stuff that I watched and put it all into a tier list of sorts. And I have the tier list ready. I think I have, 17 entries? I'm not entirely sure.
I'm excited. I've seen about half of these probably, so I might have to leave some of them for you, Evie, but I'll offer my input when I can.
Yeah, it is 17 entries. For some reason, it got rid of all the pictures when I put it in presentation mode, so I guess I have to put it back. Now we're good.
Cool. Let's get into it.
Alright. So I have all of these organized in the order that I watched them in. The first one, I don't know if you probably haven't seen the first one. It's A Silent Voice.
I have not.
It's an anime movie about this, about a guy who befriends a deaf girl. I'm gonna put it in the S category. We're starting off really strong with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't wanna say too much about the movie because I do plan on making a video on it at some point. And I've been trying to work on that for a while, but I've been having with some writer's block with the script, so I kind of put the project on pause for the time being. But it is
S tier, huh? So that's going to be the standard for the S tiers?
Yeah. The movie is great. I have nothing but praises to sing for it, but I can't really get into specifics. Most I'll say is that it's a very emotional story. There are a few sad moments in the movie, but it does have a happy ending, thankfully. I actually found myself resonating with the movie quite a bit and relating with some of the characters and their struggles. It's definitely a worthwhile watch, even if it is very emotional at times. So we're starting off strong with that one. Next we have Community, which I think I talked about this show with you before, but I don't know if you've seen it
I've
or
seen
not.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll put it in A+. It's pretty good. I think
that's pretty fair.
Yeah. I think it has. I think it gets better as it goes along with the first couple of seasons. I think that season 1 starts off pretty solid, but then seasons 2 and 3 are even better. I think season 3 might be my favorite of the show.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, in my mind, this is kind of on the same tier as like Friends or any of those casual shows you'd watch. I liked it quite a bit. Yeah, I think A+ is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think there's better than it, but I think it is pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the whole thing or not.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it. I'm not quite sure if I've seen it all, but
yeah. I have seen the whole series. The reason why I didn't put it up into S is because I felt like that the second half of the show wasn't as good as the first half. It never felt like that it became like an entirely bad show. And I know a lot of people don't like season 4. Season 4 I was fine with. Although if I were to rewatch it, I might pick up on some of the problems with it. There were a lot of changes with the cast in the second half of the show, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why the second half doesn't work as well for me, because I think the 7 characters had such great chemistry in the first 3 to 4 seasons that it kind of feels like the show loses a bit of its magic when the cast starts to change a bit near the end.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fair to me.
Yeah. But
Very funny show though. Those first
yeah,
two
it
seasons
is.
are great.
Yeah, there's a lot, especially like season 3. There's a lot of funny episodes in season 3. I think that's all I have to say about Community. Next is The Last of Us. I'll also put this up in S. This is another really strong entry.
Yep, I love The Last of Us. Really good show.
Yeah. Have you ever played the game?
No, I actually haven't.
Yeah.
I've watched some gameplay, but I haven't followed the gameplay too much.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of the game, The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite video games, so naturally I was excited for the show, and I think the show did a pretty good job at adapting the game. They made some changes from the source material, but I felt like they were welcome changes. It never felt like that any of the changes like went against the spirit of the game or anything like that. Another part of it too is because I played the game so many times, because the changes that they made to the story kind of made it feel fresh to me again. Something happened.
No, it's just some people are moving some stuff around upstairs.
Okay. As I was saying, like, because I played the game so many times, like, the changes that they made to the story for the show, it did kind of make it kind of made the experience feel fresh for me again. Especially, like, you remember the 3rd episode with Bill and Frank, right?
Yes, I think so, yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big deviation from the game. Because, well, what happens with Bill in the game, I think... I don't want to go... Like, I don't want to, like, start this massive tangent about all the differences, but, like, it is... I think that's the biggest deviation the show makes from the game, where what they do with Bill and Frank's relationship. I think episode 3 might be my favorite of the whole thing. That was just like that was an emotional gut punch. The show's like full of a lot of emotional gut punches. I think it was great. It definitely gets the EB seal of approval. Not that means anything.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I remember when it came out, that was one of the only shows of this last year that I like binge watched and was like waiting for I think it was Sunday or whatever, when they'd come out, and I'd watch them that day. I think S tier is pretty appropriate.
Yeah. The next show, I don't know if you've seen this one or not, but it's Young Justice.
I have not. I'm going to leave this one to you.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in A. So, the idea behind Young Justice, I think it came out on Cartoon Network like 10 years ago? I think 2011 is when it started airing. And I remember watching the first season of it when it came out when I was a kid. I think I remember when I was rewatching the first season, I was thinking, oh, there's probably a few episodes I don't remember, but I actually remembered all the episodes that I watched, and I realized, like, oh, I actually managed to watch the whole thing when I was a kid. Like, I didn't miss an episode of the whole season, which is something that usually didn't happen for me back then. The premise is that it's a DC superhero show. You have the Justice League with Batman, Superman, and all those guys. But they also have their sidekicks, and the sidekicks are wanting to do their own thing, so they start a covert ops team that works for the Justice League. It's a pretty cool show. I think what happened with it is that it had the first 2 seasons on Cartoon Network 10 years ago, then it got canceled, but they brought it back for 2 more seasons years later. And the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th season, I had no idea what was going in for it. I went in blind for all 3 of them. I thought it was pretty good, but nothing really groundbreaking or exceptional. I think the first season's my favorite, but that's probably due to my own bias more than anything. I don't really have much to say about it, then it's pretty good. You know, you might enjoy it if you're into superheroes or DC or kind of stuff. But again, I don't know if you have anything to say about it, because I don't think you've seen it.
I have not. Sounds interesting. I like DC stuff. Maybe I'd like it.
Yeah. Next entry, I don't know if you've seen this either. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I have not. Another S tier.
Yeah, it's an S tier. This is an anime that came out in the 90s. I think it is one of the most well-known and influential anime ever made. And after I watched it for the first time, I think back in May, and I could see why it has such a big reputation. It's really good. The premise of it is that there's these giant monsters called angels that are attacking the earth, and they want to bring about the end of the world. And there's this organization called Nerve that built these giant robots called Avas that they pilot to fight the angels.
Okay, sounds like a pretty classic anime. Sounds great.
Yeah. It starts off that way, but then it gets weird at some point. And the show does delve into like a lot of philosophical aspects, dealing with like existence, and it gets. I don't know how to describe it without it coming across as like really weird, but it does have a lot. It does deal with like a lot of heavy themes, regarding trying to find value in existence in a very crazy world. It again, I don't know how to describe it because I feel like I'm trying not to go into too much detail to spoil things or to like get super convoluted with the discussions. It's very difficult to do that with Evangelion because of how complex a lot of the themes are. I can't really do the show justice in a short amount of time. It is just a very thought-provoking and introspective series. It starts off, it's like, oh, they're fighting giant monsters, really cool. But then it like pulls the rug out from under you. It's like, we're gonna make you think about some really interesting things. And it does have, the ending is very bizarre. I think what happened is that the original ending for the series, a lot of people hated it, so they went back and they made a movie that was like meant to be like an alternate ending. And the movie, the end of Evangelion, I also like considering that as part of this ranking. I would also put it in S. I think it's I know I'm talking in circles. It's hard for me to get into it without spoiling it or just like sounding crazy because Evangelion, like, I think I made a joke about how the show melted my brain because it did. I actually kind of found myself confused by the show at times, but I actually enjoyed that about it because it made me want to like learn more about it to figure out what was going on, and not in a sense, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I'm following that. That makes sense.
Yeah, Evangelion is great. I definitely recommend it, but also it is very weird at times, and also is known for being kind of depressing. So just be aware of that. Next we have Spider-Verse. No doubt about this. This is going in S.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Amazing movie, incredible visuals, good story.
Have you seen the first Spider-Verse movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I remember, I think I went to see that movie with a few relatives of mine, and I didn't know anything about it going in. And I was pleasantly surprised by the first Spider-Verse movie. And I was excited for the sequel. And the first Spider-Verse movie is already great. And the second movie was somehow better, which I didn't even know was possible, and yet they pulled it off somehow.
I don't remember the first movie having as good visuals. The first movie was definitely great, but I don't remember it being as
Yeah, I feel like with the second movie, they definitely leaned into the visual aesthetic a lot more than they did with the first one. Yeah, I remember sometimes I've watched a lot of the clips from the movie on YouTube, and I'll just pause a certain frame of it and I'll look at it as like, this could be like you could just like frame this in like an art museum somewhere.
Yeah, it really was more like abstract. Like the way that they perceived stuff like beneath the actual world was interesting. Like where the way they would visualize emotion and there was a lot of different things they did with the second movie that they didn't do with the first movie. The first movie was kind of just an animated, like the visuals were pretty straightforward, but the second one they were like, it was really interesting to watch. I watched it in the theaters, and I think that's was a great way to watch it too, because of the bigger screen, the better viewing experience. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, might be one of my favorite things I watched this year, and I am highly anticipating the third movie. Next, we got Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, which this is going to be... We're going to be putting this one in B, the lowest ranking one thus far. I don't know if you've seen this one or not.
I have not seen this one, but I've seen a lot of Transformers movies.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming this one was probably some more of the same formula.
More or less. It's not the worst thing ever. It has some pretty decent visual effects and action sequences. I think some of the character writing is alright. Like nothing exceptional, but it works for what it is. I'm having a hard time finding things to say about the movie, because like it's not great, it's not terrible either. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's just a Transformers movie, I like the first Transformers movie. I feel like after that, they kind of had a formula for them that they didn't deviate from too much from the ones I've seen.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen...
I'm sure the endings...
Oh.
I was going to say, I'm sure the endings, not... I'm sure it's predictable. I'm sure, I guess I'm just not a huge fan of Michael Bay.
This one wasn't
movies.
Directed by Michael Bay. They had a different director on board for this one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I think what you were saying about, the plot being predictable, it was. Like, there's nothing that happened in it that, really surprised me for the most part. I think with, I don't know if you've seen Bumblebee or not, but I think they did try doing something a little different with that movie. But,
yep.
I more or less kind of feel the same way about it. It's it's not great, not terrible, it is what it is. I am a Transformers fan, but even then the movie is just kind of meh to me. I didn't really get much out of it. And that's really all I have to say about it, unfortunately. Next is Dreamcatcher, which I don't know if you've seen this one or not either.
No, I haven't.
Dreamcatcher is a book that was written by Stephen King, and it was adapted into a movie. And I read the book, and after finishing it, I decided to check out the movie. In the movie, I'm gonna be a little mean. I'm putting it in the seed category.
Oh no.
The thing about the movie is that when I started watching it, I was enjoying it for the most part. I felt like, it's doing a pretty good job adapting the story from the book. But the more the movie went on, the more questionable decisions were made. I think there's this character in the book named Mr. Gray, who's an alien who possesses the body of one of the protagonists. And in the book, Mr. Gray is very cold, kind of psychopathic. He kills a lot of people, mostly for his own goals, but at one point he starts doing it for the fun of it. In the movie, they do this weird thing where the actor who plays Mr. Gray puts on a British accent, and I don't know why they did that. In the movie, he feels more goofy than he does intimidating, And I think it's possible to get away with a villain who's goofy but also intimidating at the same time. But I don't think they did a very good job with that in the movie. I felt they made him more goofy than anything else. I just couldn't really take the character seriously, unfortunately. And I think there are other examples I could get into of like questionable decisions they made. And that's I think that's part of the reason why I'm ranking it as low as that is. I think the problem is that the original book is like 600 pages long, so it's difficult to adapt a story that long into a movie. So like they did have to like change a lot for the sake of like making it to. I can't remember how long the movie is, but like there was a lot that was left on the cutting room floor, and I felt like it did kind of hurt the story in some regards because there's some context that's lost in some situations. It probably would have been better to adapt it as a miniseries because of just how much there is going on with the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair.
Yeah.
Judging by user reviews on Google.
So for the next, I'm going to rank the next two simultaneously because they're both Godzilla movies. The first is the first Godzilla movie ever that came out in 1954. I'll put this in A+.
Oh, wow. 54?
Yeah. And then Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016. I guess I'll put that in A. I don't know, I don't know if you probably haven't seen the original Godzilla.
No, 54 is wild. I didn't know they were doing that kind of movie back then.
Yeah. I think it's free to watch on YouTube. At least it was when I caught it. I don't know, like sometimes like they take down free to watch movies on YouTube. Have you seen any Godzilla movies?
Yeah, I've seen some of the later ones. I didn't mind the last one that was put out.
Yeah.
Kong versus the Godzilla.
I haven't seen Kong versus Godzilla.
I like it as a franchise.
Yeah. What's interesting about the first Godzilla movie is that, like, I think when most people think of Godzilla, they think of like kind of like an action movie, but the first Godzilla movie isn't really like that. I think the first Godzilla movie ever made, it was made in Japan. I think it was because like this is 54, so it was like almost 10 years after the bombs were dropped, and that's basically what the whole movie is about. Godzilla was actually originally created to be a metaphor for the atomic bomb, and the whole movie has a political message about atom bombs, like the destruction that they can cause. There's a scene where Godzilla, I think, goes through Tokyo and he's like tearing down buildings and catching the whole thing on fire. It's actually kind of a horrifying scene to watch in a lot of ways. Usually, like in a lot of Godzilla movies, like a lot of the action-oriented ones, like when you have Godzilla going around like knocking down buildings, it's kind of portrayed like as a cool thing. But what happens in that movie, it's terrifying, and the movie's actually like, it's surprising because like the original Godzilla movie is actually like really dark and depressing. It's not kind of what you would expect because like how different Godzilla movies are nowadays.
Yeah, that's interesting. So in Godzilla movies now, he's kind of perceived as like the good guy in some ways. Like he's,
Yeah. I think it's mostly.
Is there still that part of it, or is he strictly trying to destroy the cities and stuff?
Yeah, he is basically kind of, I guess, the bad guy in the movie. Because like I said, he was made to be like a metaphor for the atomic bomb. I think the Godzilla being the good guy is kind of like more of a thing in American Godzilla movies, and I think like some Japanese Godzilla movies did that for a while too. But I think more of the serious ones kind of portray Godzilla as like a monster, which is what you do get with the original. And you also get that with Shin Godzilla, which I haven't talked about yet. I don't know if you probably haven't seen that one either. Shin Godzilla, I think, came out in 2016. I think the creator of Evangelion, which I talked about earlier, also worked on Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla I liked. I don't think I liked it as much as the original. I think the original was like the better of the two, but Shin Godzilla I think was still really good. The way they reimagined Godzilla in the movie was interesting because like he has like these different stages where he metamorphosizes. Like he starts off as like a sea monster, then he gets on land, and he keeps like evolving new abilities. I actually I remember like that was kind of like a big deal back when the movie came out. Like a lot of people like were divided over just like how much they changed Godzilla, and I actually really liked a lot of the changes they did with him in the movie. I think it kind of made him a little more scary, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's a formula that's been through a lot of movies,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of on the same board where if they can change some stuff, I don't think I'd be opposed.
Yeah. Shin Godzilla, one aspect of it that's kind of hard for me to relate to myself. The movie was made to be a criticism of the Japanese government. I think I think there was an earthquake that happened in 2011, and the movie has a lot of criticisms to how poorly the government responded to that situation. Where basically what happens, like, this is something that people made fun of the movie for. It's like, oh, there's a lot of meeting scenes. That's true, there are a lot of meeting scenes, and granted, they can drag the pacing down a bit, but it does serve like a purpose to the overall themes of the movie, where it's meant to criticize how inefficient and slow the Japanese government is. And while I understand that about the movie, again, this is something that's kind of hard for me to relate to because obviously I'm not Japanese. So yeah, so original Godzilla movie.
No, I haven't seen it, but that sounds that sounds pretty on par with the rankings that we've got so far.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, because I watched Shin Godzilla on YouTube and it was the English dub, it was very distracting because the voice actors' lines and the lines from the actual actors in the movie, like, they didn't line up. So like you could tell like, oh, the lip syncing is off, and it was really distracting. And I don't like, nothing against like the voice actors, they did a good job, and like that's not their fault. But I kind of wish that I would have watched the original dub, because that did kind of distract me a few times. It didn't ruin the movie or anything, but it was something that every now and then I noticed, like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but original Godzilla A+, Shin Godzilla A. Next, we have Oppenheimer, which I don't know if you've seen this one. You probably have.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one is actually related to the last two.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll put Oppenheimer in A+. It was really good, but I don't love it enough to put it up in S. Although I can't really argue with it being in the S category. Like, I think like if someone were to put Oppenheimer in S, it's like, yeah, it deserves that ranking. It's just, I don't love the movie enough to rank it that high.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I mean, it was good, but yeah, I don't think it had to be as long as it was. I don't, but I enjoyed it in general, so I think A+ is a good spot for that.
I actually didn't really have any problems with the runtime of the movie. Like, it is a pretty lengthy movie, but I never really felt like the movie wasted its time on anything that wasn't important to like the overall story, the themes. I can get like this not being everyone's cup of tea, because they do deal like a lot with like the politics of Oppenheimer's life, and I could see that like being boring to some people. And I'll admit, like, those weren't my favorite parts of the movie either. I felt like that the process around the making of the atom bomb and the aftermath of that and the toll that it took on Oppenheimer was my favorite parts of the movie, especially the ending. The ending of the movie is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think my only criticism from the length of the movie is that, like, once the bomb goes off and like in the testing, There's such like a suspense build up to that you think the movie's probably almost over, and then it goes on for like another 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour maybe.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like it dragged on a little bit, but I did enjoy the movie in general.
Yeah. I think this is like another Chris Nolan movie, and I really like Christopher Nolan's movies, like everything from like The Dark Knight, Interstellar, Inception, Memento, The Prestige. He makes really good stuff. He usually hits it out of the park, and he had another hit with Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dark Knight's one of the great movie. Yeah. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. I love all those movies.
Yeah. What's the next on our list? Breaking Bad. I'll do another 2 and 1 because these are the same continuity. Breaking Bad, which will go up into S, and El Camino, which I'll put into A+.
I think that's pretty fair. I'll let you go into your rankings for that in a second, but like I agree with that. The only reason I would put Breaking Bad a little lower is just in my personal opinion. I have a hard time watching shows that are as sad as Breaking Bad is.
Yeah.
But as in general, with like just how it was made and like the side, the acting was incredible. Everything about it was good.
Yeah. I think I talked about Breaking Bad with you earlier this year, and you said that you didn't finish it because it was too depressing for you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you for that. I'll avoid spoilers with my take on it. Breaking Bad is kind of like a show that you hear about all the time. People talk about how great it is, and I kind of put off watching Breaking Bad because I was kind of afraid, like, oh, what if it doesn't live up to the hype? But it does. I think it is an incredible show. Like from start to finish, it has incredibly tight writing and it's a great story, great themes, great characters. Walter White as a character is probably one of the best I've ever seen. Like there's just so many nuances and complexities. Like I could like go on for hours talking about like what a great character Walter White is and how well written he is, and like how well written the show overall is. Like it's impressive just how good Breaking Bad is in just about every respect. I think it definitely deserves the reputation that it has. I'm glad I finally checked it out because it's absolutely amazing. El Camino. I don't know if you've seen El Camino or not.
I have not.
El Camino is like a movie that takes place directly after the events of Breaking Bad. It follows Jesse, and El Camino is good. It's not as good as Breaking Bad, but I still think it was a nice follow up to the story. And El Camino, I don't think is like necessary to watch. If you've seen Breaking Bad, like you don't need to see El Camino, but it's nice that it's there if you want it. I think it's a nice way to end Jesse's story after where the series ended off. Yeah, like
yeah, that's kind of what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a follow-up movie to that good of a show, though. Like, how many people loved that show? As I feel like it's a pretty hard thing to make and to please the fans. But I've heard really good things about that, so yeah. I think that's probably pretty fair.
I think some people were disappointed with El Camino, but I wasn't one of them. I felt like it was a pretty good follow-up. Again, like I don't think it's as good as Breaking Bad, but I think that's kind of like a unrealistic expectation to have, because Breaking Bad's kind of like lightning in a bottle in terms of how good it is.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. We're getting pretty close to the end of the list. Next we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I think it'll be nice to put it in A+.
Okay. I haven't seen this, but A+ is a pretty good ranking. I think I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. I remember hearing about this movie. Like the thing that everyone was saying is like, how surprisingly good it is, and when I checked it out myself, like I agreed. Like because I expected the movie to be good based off what everyone said about it, but again, it's like it's surprising the fact that it's as good as it is. Basically, what happens is that Puss is on his last life, and he's kind of like dealing with his own mortality. And the way the movie handles that theme is so well done. Like they actually have Death appear as a character in the movie, and he's a fantastic villain. I think they also have another, like a secondary villain, Jack Horner, who's hilarious. Like he's evil, but he's hilarious. He's one of the there's one of the funnier parts of the movie is that character. I think they also have like Goldilocks and Three Bears appear as characters in the movie, and that was probably one of the most surprising parts of the movie because I did not expect for those characters to be as funny as they were, and like not only did I expect them to be so funny, but I also didn't expect to get like genuinely emotionally invested in them. Like that was one part that happened in the movie. It's like, wait, why am I getting emotionally invested in a talking bear? What's happening? Yeah, this movie had no business being as good as it is, but like it was a pleasant surprise. I think it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it yet.
Cool, I'll check it out.
Yeah. Next, The Wolf of Wall Street, which I'll also put an A+. I think this movie... have you seen this one?
Yes.
I think this came out back in...
I'm a big Scorsese fan.
Yeah, I think I've only seen 2 Scorsese movies, this and Hugo. I think he did Hugo too, right? I'm not sure. I can look it up right now.
I'm not sure either. Let me look.
Yeah, it was directed by Scorsese. So...
Okay.
Yeah, this is the second Scorsese movie that I've ever seen. I should watch more because Hugo is great and Wolf of Wall Street is also great. Wolf of Wall Street's like I think this came out like in 2013, like 10 years ago. It's like one of those movies I remember hearing people talk about all the time, and I watched it. It's pretty good. It's funny. I think the social commentary it has and the criticism of like excess and wealth is very well done. I'm kind of finding it hard.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to find things to say about the movie because, like, what can I say about it? I think like everyone knows like it's a good movie. Yeah, it's like trying to tell someone, "Oh, the sky is blue."
Yeah,
like, yeah, we already know.
Yeah, it doesn't follow any pre-existing formulas. It's its own thing. It's really interesting. Really well acted, really well written, really well directed. It's just pulled off extremely well. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
I think I don't know if you've ever heard of the "you missed the point by idolizing them" meme.
I don't think so actually, but
sometimes
the description makes sense.
What will happen is that people will idolize characters from fiction who like are supposed to be the bad guy, but people don't understand that they're the bad guy. And I think that Jordan from Wolf of Wall Street's like one of those characters. I think people do something similar with Walter White from Breaking Bad, where they don't understand he's supposed to be the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, you follow around the bad guy, though, so it makes him kind of seem like a protagonist. But, they are the main characters of the movie, so it is, you end up kind of liking them a little bit, or wanting them to do well, I guess. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's like a whole other thing, like another discussion we could have about it. Like, point is, Wolf of Wall Street, really good, A+. Next we have One Punch Man, which I don't know if you've seen this one.
Yeah.
Have you seen One Punch Man?
I have.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've only seen the first season of it because that's all that was on Netflix. Thought it was pretty good. I thought it had a pretty creative concept, a lot of funny jokes, but outside of that, nothing about it like really stuck out to me as like particularly special or memorable. It's just pretty good. So I might put it in B.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it was an enjoyable show. You know, I don't think it's necessary for anyone to watch, but if someone has the time, you know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think B is pretty accurate.
I think they have more seasons of it, but I'm not sure where I'd be able to watch it. But even then, like, I don't know, like, because even I've enjoyed what I've seen of it enough, but not enough to the point where like I'm willing to watch more. It's like, if I don't watch the rest of One Punch Man, like for the remainder of my life, like I don't know if I'll feel like I'm missing out on anything particularly.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and we have made it to the very end. The last entry, Little Witch Academia. Probably not seen this one yourself.
I have not.
I think this is an anime on Netflix. I remember there's a meme from it that I saw on YouTube pop up. And I was browsing Netflix one night and I saw that show pop up. It was like, hey, that's where the meme comes from. And I decided, yeah, why not check it out? And there's only one season of it. I kind of wish that they would have done more because I think there's probably a lot more they could do with the concept of the characters. I enjoyed what I watched. This is another one where I don't want to say too much about it because like I'm wanting to do a video on it. I remember like when I first watched it, I was thinking it's probably going to put it in B, but when I rewatched it to take notes on it so I could do the video, I actually found that it's a lot better than I gave it credit for, so I decided to bump it up to an A. It's nothing groundbreaking about it. It's not like this masterpiece or anything, but I think it's entertaining enough. I don't know, like it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I thought it was fun.
Well, I like fun. I might check it out.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it. My brother likes it a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I forget what he said about it, but he recommended it to me.
Okay. I didn't know if it would be I don't know if it'd be your kind of thing, but I guess you could check it out.
Doesn't hurt to check it out. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against the concept from what my brother has told me. It being one season makes it less of a commitment, you know. So I guess that's something.
Yeah. Again, like this is like I said, I kind of wish they would have done more with it because I felt like there's a lot more that you could do with like I said, with the premise and the characters. I felt like it's not like the worst thing ever. Like the ending of the series, I thought was like it's a good ending, but I just felt like that they could have done like 2 more seasons at least. But I'll go into more detail about it when my video inevitably comes out. But that's everything that I have seen in 2023 ranked. I might do a little recap real quick. And yes, we got A Silent Voice, The Last of Us, Evangelion, Spider-Verse, and Breaking Bad. In A+, we got Community, Godzilla, Oppenheimer, El Camino, Puss in Boots, and The Wolf of Wall Street. In A, we have Young Justice, Shin Godzilla, and Little Witch Academia. B, we have Rise of the Beasts and One Punch Man. And in C, Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this all came out.
Yeah,
Last of Us, definitely S tier. Spider-Verse, definitely S tier.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how like different people would rank it if they had the opportunity. I think that this is the ranking that would work for me, but it might differ from like person to person if they watched the same shows and movies and stuff, like how they would differently rank everything on here.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's basically the end of it all. I might make this a yearly thing. I think even next year I might do like a little ranking of all the movies and shows that I've watched.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. That is all from us from today. So I guess there's nothing more to say other than goodbye.
See ya.